I hit this page immediately. The hero section feels a little stretched to me. And there's two things that jump out. Number one, like you can reduce this line height on this title a little bit and make it feel a little bit more like a condensed title. Like it reads like a paragraph, but just in really big font. So tighten up that line height. And also having this main title and this one below it having the same font size and the same like boldness, font weight. That's a little hard to read. It kind of undermines like that visual hierarchy we were talking about in the last few pages. So if you had to, do this like title, subtitle, value prop layout, I'd say make this H1 large and bold, make this H2 smaller and not bold, and then you can go into your value props down here, because actually the image and the idea behind that layout is good, but just make it a little bit more readable on mobile here. I would also test having this be a sticky CTA. Sometimes that works really well on some of these longer form listicle pages, just because there's always a CTA in the frame. That way you don't necessarily have to shoehorn links and CTA buttons into every section. They just always have one here. But what I will say is if you're going to do that, make sure that you have the same design for all of your CTA buttons. So this up here should be this orange and black text. That way people get that immediate signal that this is a button, I can click on it, and they're not having to guess. It's good. Before and after photos are great. I love that, especially for beauty brands. Good. Especially with these CTAs stick out so well. I definitely put that up here. Even though this is a little bit squished inside of this section of this table, I would make that trade for readability over making it look perfect 10 times out of 10. So I am totally cool with that. 500,000 happy customers. That's great. I would definitely test putting these in a carousel and adding more. I used to be kind of against carousels just for like speed reasons, but even though like we cracked the speed thing after the fact, I do think that having that interactivity on some of these longer form pages does a lot, because when you're scrolling through a bunch of text, people tend just to start clicking on things for the sake of clicking on things. So people are so used to that, that UI from Instagram, from other socials. So having some dot indicators underneath and letting them read through a little bit more. That's the other thing we've noticed is people tend to engage more with the reviews in those carousels, just because they're so used to it, right? Like you scroll through, you get a new content frame, people read it a little bit more. Try the carousel. Do the same thing up here, kind of make this subtitle a little bit smaller, make it less bold so it doesn't clash with the main title of this section. I think you could do a lot of tightening up in this buy box too, knowing that this is not what an actual mobile screen size is going to look like. I can't resize it on here, but on an iPhone, this would probably cut off about here. What I always try to do with the buy box is get everything you need to, scroll through all of your purchase options and click add to cart in the same frame as much as you can. So you should be able to put, the strike through price, the final price, and the savings all on one line here, instead of just stacking them all vertically like this. You have a ton of real estate on the side of this section of the page, so use it all. And then that surfaces the CTA button up a little bit more. You can scroll through the carousel here and then click on the cart button right away. I think it'd be a lot more usable. Kanika, how do you feel about countdown timers?
I think I have various thoughts on countdown timers. One is if you're going to use one, make sure it's legit. Like make sure you're not lying to people, because if they come back, like, and it's a technical process, right? Like make sure your developers then cookie them, and that once that timer hits 0, something on the page has to change. Because if they come back and they see that that's a lie, you're losing a lot of credibility with them, and it's tough to get that back, right? Like once you get a strike against you, it's tough to be like, oh, but or just really weakens your brand, right? They're going to be like, this company always has stuff on sale, so why would I buy it right now? It does the opposite of what the countdown timer is actually trying to do. That being said, they can work. So I'm not like completely against testing them as long as they're legit.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, and the reason I even ask is because when I land on a page and I see the countdown timer at 25 minutes right off the bat, like that feels a little forced to me. Like you said, it can work. I mean, having it on there definitely can earn you more conversions, but at the expense of some credibility to a lot of the customers that end up coming back, or if they see the end of the countdown timer, like even just leaving up, even imagine leaving this page open in your iPhone and then just coming back to it after a few hours because you weren't ready to buy yet.
Right.
That was fake. So definitely think
That's
about that. You're trading some brand equity for, maybe one or two quick conversions.
That's a good point. I think, and to your point, like we're also younger, right? I think this works for people who are in their like 60s and 70s, at least for a few of our clients. People like all the kind of like gimmicky urgency things actually do work pretty well. We try to just like tear them out of a page that we were on recently, and it didn't convert as well because we took them out. That being said, like there needs to have a reason behind it, right? So like this one is like, don't miss selling fast. And then they're all going to be sold out in 24 minutes. Like the two messages don't really make sense if anyone takes more than like a minute to think about it, right? Like, why would they all be sold out in 24 minutes? That doesn't really have a connection. So at the very least, it's like, hey, 1 day sale, it'll end at midnight maybe, right? Or like maybe you do a quantity countdown instead. Like this is how many are left.
Totally.
Just make sure it makes sense.
That's a really good point. I mean, I think you can create urgency in other ways too, and the stock indicator is another way, because then all of a sudden, don't miss selling fast gets some legitimacy behind it. So maybe worth testing. And granted, if you're going to do the countdown timer, just do exactly what you said. Make sure something changes when the countdown timer hits 0, because I mean, D2C is not getting any easier. So if it is working and it's helping you earn more sales, great. Just make sure you're going to execute it on a way that's not going to sacrifice some brand credibility then.
You have like the leaping bunny and stuff. Like you guys are doing other things really well, so make sure you just do it all well.
Yeah, overall, I mean, fixing some of the headline layouts, like the design system is pretty strong, and I think it's super easy to read and looks really nice. Again, try to make the CTA buttons all the same color, because this is a different one. It's a different one down here, different one up here. Just kind of unify that design system a little bit more.
With the buttons, I would almost even think about adding like a hover shadow or something. I don't know. Again, this could be a Konica problem, but for me, it feels like it's like so flat on the page. It almost feels like a graphic, and I'm not immediately positive that it's something I should click rather than just like a design element. So I don't know. Like my design brain is not as strong, but like adding like the hover shadow thing or like something just to make it more evident that it's a button outside of the. Maybe it's the colors, honestly. It could be that too. Like I can't pinpoint it, but there's something about it that just makes me feel like it's like old school, like back when everyone just started really using the internet and it was like you can't tell different elements apart. Something about this matches that in my brain.
No, it's a good point. I mean, especially for what I assume is an older demo here. I mean, make it as clear as you possibly can that this is the thing you're supposed to click on.
On the button topic, the only other thing that kind of drives me nuts, like on the page you're on, or if you like scroll to the top, is that you're seeing both of the buttons, right? Like if you go all the way to the top of the page, you're seeing like even on any of these like sections, right? You're seeing like save 15% at the top. You're seeing the sticky one, and then you're also seeing the third one. And then they're two different colors to your point, Ryan. And it's a little tough, right? Like, where am I supposed to concentrate? There's so many button call outs. Yeah. So if you're going to have a sticky like banner bar like this that has the CTA, try to make it so it's not showing when there's other CTAs showing on the page.
Totally agree. And I'm going to refresh this because, yeah, I didn't even notice that there was a sticky down here when as soon as I hit the page, I'm like, oh, make the header sticky because that is a button in it too. But I think it's useful to have, what's that?
I said there's 3 right when you landed on it, like when you refreshed.
Yeah.
There's 3 buttons.
Yeah, as much as you can have one call to action that people can see at once. And even with these sticky ones, if you can find a way to make it sort of pop in as people get further down into the content, that tends to work better too, just because people have a chance to read the content, get acclimated. And really that's the whole reason you're building a landing page too, right? Like you're trying to educate, give some context, give people more reasons why they should buy it. And then you can pop in the CTA. There is a way to do it where you can pop it in as people start scrolling back up too, like if they're, looking for a button. So a lot of different ways to pull that off. But at the end of the day, yes, you're looking for one CTA in frame at a time. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I think the page itself is really good. I think tightening up some of the headlines, some of the hierarchy. I'm just going to scroll down below the reviews section here. I don't necessarily think you need the full reviews widget in here too, by the way. Like these tend to be really heavy if you're injecting them from like a reviews.io or Yotpo or something. So it might be worth taking that out just to see if the page speed boost does anything for conversion on this page. But FAQs, that's a long FAQ. Wow. I'm fine with that if since it's like ingredients and things that people would want details on. Cool. Founder story, always good. Cool. At the bottom of the page, I know the sticky thing is here, but in general, I like to put whatever your main CTA is for the page, put it right at the bottom above the footer. So if people make it all the way down, they have something to click on that isn't just join an email list, or once they get all the way down to your footer to kind of get outside of the landing page funnel, end up browsing somewhere else. So all that being said, whoops, that's just like I did by accident. Anything else, Kanika? I'll go all the way back to the top.
The only thing that now I'm noticing as I'm watching you scroll up and down is the buttons have different like offers on them. So some of them are saying save 15%, other ones are saying like the dollar amount or something like that. And then even on the sticky, like if you go, try yourself on sale, that one's okay. But as you keep going, these both have save 15%. Then there's another one that has like the dollar amount, and then it kind of alternates back and forth. So just stick with it. So it seems like most of them have 15%. Stick with that. And then just looking like, here, this has both of them. Maybe that's okay, but it's a little bit like, I would just keep it cohesive a little bit. On the sticky one itself, so I guess if Ryan keeps going, I guess you guys have it maybe not showing here. I don't like, it's a little bit busy again, right? So it's like strike through price of 74 to 62.50. Then it's like save 15% now. I think it's good to show, but can you simplify it, right? Like for people who are just trying to make a decision quick, it's like, okay, 15%, I think you're making the right decision with showing 15% rather than save, $11.50. But maybe you just go with one, right? Or just like put it on the button. So, put the $62 and have the cross out there. I could probably think of something better if I spent more than like a second thinking about it. But as you can see, that's confusion that's happening. Like as I'm looking at it, there's a lot going on. Save 15%. There's two other prices. How can you make that really simple for people?
Yeah, I agree. It feels like, over the last 10 years, as people started building these landing page funnels, we all got into this habit of trying to have like different CTA messages at each step, just because we thought, I don't want to have the same button over and over and over again. But I really think it's okay to just put whatever the action is that's going to happen when you click that button, just make that your CTA text. Like, again, just make it clear over clever, no matter what. And I have not seen any real difference in conversion because of that, but I do think it's easier to read and easier to understand.
I agree. I think we're big fans of like trying like aspirational copy on them, but like I'll be honest, sometimes it's just better to show like buy whatever or like explore this if it's going to go to another page. So test it, but I agree, you don't have to get too fancy on these. It's more simple than we've all made it out to be.